Hamna, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, Maya. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, and thank you for coming back. I have interviewed you before, very early on in the Wicked YouTube series, and back then, your interview actually was one of the very popular interviews because you told us about your niche, your practice, what you do. And the reason why I invited you back, Hamna, and I insisted, even though you're on mat leave right now, was actually because I wanted you to share with our audience your experience now that you're a new mom. And I think, uh, as you know, many of our female colleagues, one of the challenges that they have, it's balancing being a working mom, a full-time criminal defense lawyer, and having a new baby. So I thought you would be the perfect person to talk about this subject because you're going through this right now. And although, like maybe it's still very early in the process for you, but you can certainly share with us how it was, like when you got pregnant, the transition to preparing for mat leave, the anxieties, the stresses that you've had. So tell us all about this.
So firstly, thanks so much for having me, Maya. I know, frankly, I resisted to do this interview because I thought I should be a bit more experienced being a mom before speaking about it. But there is value in talking about each step along the way. So um, I think my experience of honestly being pregnant and having a baby just reminded me of how much of a beast a woman can be, meaning in the sense that,
Mhm.
we're so strong, we're so resilient, putting aside pregnancies, like, we show up to work, never mind being sick, we show up with our periods, we might have cramps, we might be hormonal, we might be struggling, but we show up and we're toe to toe with men and everyone else in our field. And certainly when I was pregnant, you're very aware of your body and carrying a pregnant body inside a criminal court and having that sort of aura of a criminal defense lawyer, you certainly sometimes don't feel quote unquote toughest, right? But you have to be there for your client. You have to put on your armor. It doesn't change you as a person, but the vulnerabilities certainly are there, especially when you start showing in your pregnancy. And there's, as you know, there's not a lot of women in our profession. There's already a retention and you don't see a lot of pregnant women in courts, right? So every time if I see someone, I remember one time in a courthouse, I saw a pregnant duty counsel. I just got really excited. It's just something we don't generally see. So there is that experience of carrying a pregnant body inside a criminal law arena, if I can call it that, and then dealing with clients and managing my mat leave. So I think there's lots to unpack there. There's obviously a lot of excitement leading up to the maternity leave, but our jobs are so stressful and our clients are with us. We're counsel of choice when we take our clients on. To going on a mat leave, certainly it's a lot of burden you carry, and the transition has to be done delicately and properly.
So, okay, you did mention also the clients, and that's actually an important point. How did you like what was the relationship with the clients when you learned that you were pregnant and that, eventually you knew that you were going to leave the practice at some point. So what conversation did you have with your clients?
So it really depended on what stage a file was at and what was needed from my client. So that's the benefit of working in a firm setting. So I do have amazing colleagues. So some of the clients' files that I couldn't sort of see through, and they were time sensitive, my colleagues have taken on. I did work my hardest to wrap up on majority of the files. Like I became quite aggressive. I think I worked double the amount during my pregnancy because I just felt
Mhm.
like I wanted to do it. I felt ambitious and I really felt like I owe a duty to my clients because they came for me. I had one trial which had to be adjourned. The rest of everything else was managed well, but one client's trial, um, they really wanted me to do the trial, so we had to postpone that. And the technicalities of that in the courtroom were a bit tricky and, to be honest, a bit disappointing. But I'm ready to
Well,
go back.
tell us about that because I mean, this is something that many of our wicked members have raised, and it is a concern that they were bothered or almost bullied with this 11B question because they had to go on mat leave and they were bullied to waive 11B. So, what was your experience?
So my experience was not pleasant at all. I actually, when I brought the German application, normally my colleagues was helping me adjourn matters or dealing with that. But I felt that I should personally appear for this adjournment, given that it was a
Because it was a
serious.
trial adjournment.
It was a trial adjournment. It's a serious matter. And there was an 11B concern because I was second counsel on the file. So there was already a little bit of a delay. I won't get into the specifics, obviously, for my client's privacy reason. But when I showed up to court, there was resistance from the bench about. Firstly, there was a lot of personal questions asked that made me very uncomfortable. The courtroom, even though it was virtual, it was full. I was asked how long my maternity leave was going to be. Can another lawyer from my firm take on the file? And I was not expecting a cross examination, sort of in the heat of the moment, and I had to push back and say, I am counsel of choice. I understand the delay aspect of it. And it did not, I'm being a bit delicate here, but I had to appear again with my client and reassured the bench that my client is, in fact, Raven Leverby, and I am counsel of a choice.
And the client, well, what was the client's position on that? Did the client have issues with you adjourning the trial?
No, in fact, so to be fair to my clients, like me going on maternity leave, this is my life and I am managing my own timeline. But that does not mean that it should be at a disadvantage to my clients, any of my clients, whether it was a matter on a resolution track or a trial matter, because we all know the burden of a criminal charge when it hangs over our head, it's brutal. So I gave all my clients the choice of whether they would want, if we just stick to this client matter, I gave my client the choice of whether they would want to um, adjourn the trial or whether they would want the senior lawyer in our office to do the trial who had very I was very pleased to know like the collegiality that he agreed to do it, Peter Lindsay. So he and I was like, I even sold it to him. I said, listen, he has 20 more years of experience, and even the fees are different. Let's just be honest, right? But then at the end of the day, the client, because of the relationship we had built, because of how hard I had worked on the file already, that client wanted me to do the trial, and it's that client's choice at the end of the day. So given those discussions, I was counsel of choice, and I had a lengthy discussion about how far out the new trial could be scheduled. So we obviously, as lawyers, we have to do our due diligence, and we have those instructions, and we have written instructions before we go to court for that. So I took everything step by step. At the end of the day, there's no hard feelings if my client wanted to go ahead and do the
Yeah.
trial. And frankly, let's be honest, that trial was scheduled to be towards the end of my pregnancy, and I was not expecting to go on mat leave earlier, so it was just off by 2 weeks. And these things, now I know I'm a first time mother, that things can happen sooner rather than later. So had it been 1 week out, I would have done the trial, but given the circumstances, I couldn't do it. And I want to be like 120, like 1,000% in trial mode. I don't want to be worried about any health concerns. And my clients understood that. So to answer shortly, the clients were actually, firstly, they just congratulated me and they were happy for me. I postponed this conversation for my clients because I just, you don't want to let anyone down, right? You want to do as much as you can, but they agreed for me to continue to be their lawyers, and they're waiting. I guess that's what hard work does. You earn someone's trust. That's what it really is. Yeah.
And how about the crowns and the courts? So I know in this case there was a little bit of a pushback from the courts, but I guess the trial was eventually adjourned. Uh,
Yes, to be fair, my colleague from the Crown's office was very collegial.
Okay.
In this matter, the Crown at the assigned Crown congratulated me, and we sort of just dealt with it procedurally, and we had moved on. The assigned Crown, I won't get into specifics, was actually away. That Crown could not be present in court, so you know, it was a trial. It was the Crown who was running the list that day who appeared, but still, to the Crown's credit, there were no harmful or harsh comments made by the Crown side. It was just difficulty I experienced from the bench. And I did, when I reappeared with my client before the bench, I had filed that letter from WiCCD talking
Mhm.
about how the burden of maternity leave should not fall at the shoulders of women defense lawyers. And even to say these words out loud in court with so many audience, it felt really emotional because, we're so used to advocating for our clients, but this
Mhm,
is
yeah.
so personal. This is
Yeah.
self-advocacy. And I think I'm good with self-advocacy, but this just like goes to your core. You're pregnant. I was like 8 months pregnant. You're appearing in court. You don't expect the way things are going to go. And but it ended well overall. So I would say to anyone else who's going through this, either they can personally literally reach out to me, or don't be afraid. Like, it's our lives and it's a profession, but at the same time, we have to manage everything together.
I mean, at the end of the day, you also need to have your life, and so I mean, what are you gonna do? Like some things you can't control the timings of these things. So like it is what it is, and and the most important thing is that the client was fine with that. So it would have been a completely different situation, I think, if the client was having an issue with that. But here, I mean, luckily the client was very um, like understanding and had no issue
I
with the,
agree. I think you're absolutely right. Had I not had a good relationship with a client, which happens, right? It's not personal,
yeah,
which can happen to anyone for various reasons. It's complicated. It's such a stressful situation, especially these charges are quite serious. There's serious jail time potentially involved. It could have gone either way, but because my client wanted me as a lawyer, the client believed in me and they waited, it just means the world to you, right? This is why we do what we do,
yeah,
because it's so meaningful. And I honestly think it made me feel so confident and so good. And when I go back, I'm gonna, this is going to be, I want to do whatever I can for this trial, because literally they have waited for me to do this trial.
yeah.
It really is an honor and a privilege.
And obviously, like that's really the best thing when you know that your client trusts you, right? And they believe in you, they believe in your ability as a lawyer, and they give you their case, and they know that they're in good hands. So that's obviously for a lawyer, I think, the most rewarding feeling ever. But okay, so you had to adjourn some matters, you tried to resolve or to, like deal with as many as possible before you got into mat leave. But then, so right now you're still on mat leave, Hamna. Um, but just tell us, because one of the problems that defense lawyers have, whether it's mat leave or on vacation, is that it's very weird when you're not working, especially as intensely as when you're back into full-time practice. So how is that going? Like, doesn't it feel weird not to, be on the phone all the time, answering emails, doing court appearances, preparing? Like, what does it feel like to be a
So
normal person, actually? What does
yeah,
it
it
feel
just
like?
honestly, I think I'm just waking up to the idea of not working now, because my daughter is 4 months old. It's
Mhm.
still very, very early. I didn't realize how much work goes into raising a child and having a baby. So early on, you're just sort of catching your breath. It's such a high learning curve, Maya. Like, and knowing
Yeah.
our personalities, it's just I call it both my blessing and my curse. Like, I love being in control. I love preparation. And I brought my like lawyerly self to my pregnancy, and I thought into my motherhood. I read all the books, I read blogs, I listened to podcasts. I was like a total nerd about the whole thing, sleep and food and like everything under the sun. And then when you do it in real life, none of that applies. Of course,
Yeah.
it's not. It's just for my own sake. I was like, you want to learn, but the practicality of it, it's completely different. Like, the advice is really comes from the older generation or from my friends or actual moms. So it's like, bringing in my personality into motherhood. And I thought, if I'm not working, I can manage. But, your child they're not your project. They're not a deadline.
Yeah.
You can't control them. So my daughter, she rules my world. She rules my schedule, because you sort of have to give in to a baby's needs, and it's completely different than having our schedules planned for months in advance. So I think the mother lordly thing, I don't know how it's going to go once I go back to work. Actually, I'm starting I'm starting work fairly soon, so I'm getting the jitters of how will I do this because
Mhm.
I think it'll be quite tough because whatever I do, I bring like all my energy into it. So you can't do some work and some mothering. So that'll be my next challenge, figuring out how I'll do all of it together.
Yeah, I mean, we will definitely have to have another interview to talk
Oh
about how
gosh.
this is going. I mean, probably it's going to be a bit more intense at the beginning because it's something new. But are you still getting calls from police from the police station or from clients? Are you not working at all, or how is that going?
So I'm actually on a full-time mat leave as of now. I'm going to start off part-time fairly soon, just to sort of gel into things. And this was a decision I had to make, whether I want to. Firstly, I think the decision of how long the mat leave should be was very, very difficult. I talked to a lot of women. I actually use Wicked listserv to reach out to women, and it was quite helpful. And I got all sorts of answers from under the sun, from 18 months to 3 months to 6 months. So it was to 9 months to nothing. So it was really hard, and everyone just said you have to go into it and you have to learn what you need. And it really is like, once I'm in it, I can see how long I needed, how long is too long, how short is too short. So, but for the time that I'm actually taking my mat leave, I am not working right now. I am getting the clients that reach out, if I'm getting a referral, it's being sent to my office and my clients and all the referrals are in very good hands until I come back. And the intention is for me to pick those client files up when I go back. So because to be honest, I wouldn't be able to do it at full capacity, and I'm not one to sort of just do it half-ass, if I can use that word. I want to be 100% when I'm doing it. So I'm not doing, and I think it was a good decision because I was so out of it in the first couple of months. You're just in goo goo gaga land. You're just learning what to do. You're figuring it out, and I'm glad I took the time to just take care of myself, heal, and also to take care of my baby and give her my 100% attention.
Now, I want to ask you, Hamna, have you had thoughts about joining the Crown's office? Did this even occur to your mind? Like, did you even think of, because knowing how you work, your schedule before you got pregnant, and now that you're off and you're realizing that, okay, at some point I'm going to have to go back,
Mhm.
and this is what I have to go back to, you know what it is, and you know what responsibilities you have now. That are going to be added to whatever it is you were doing before. So, did that even cross your mind? Did you think about that?
So I love being a defense lawyer. Like my heart is completely defense and defense, defense, defense. I love what I do. But to be honest, when you get pregnant and when you're thinking about a maternity leave, the benefits the Crown's office has, oh my gosh, like private practice is nothing compared to it. The challenges are completely different. It's not like my mat leave, even if it's a short one or whatever the case may be, whether you take a short leave or a long leave, you have to manage the files, the clients, and even sort of all the work you've put into creating, your image, like whatever work you've done, it goes on hold. And I think this is the reason why at this point women leave criminal defense practice. And logically, it definitely makes sense. It can make sense for financial reasons, for practical reasons, for work hours, and all of that. So I can see why something like this could be very appealing once someone becomes a mother. And there's no hard feelings and there's no judgment, right? Because you have to do what works for you. And
Yeah,
sometimes you're in a certain season of life, like priorities change. And sometimes people bounce around. But I did not think about it even once because I love what I do and I actually love my office and I love everything about my work, thankfully. I think if I actually had a toxic work environment or I didn't enjoy it even one bit, for sure, I would think about what other opportunities are out there, right? Whether it's the Crown's office or sometimes people even leave criminal law altogether because
sure.
some of the other law offers better work hours, better sometimes everything. So personally, I did not yet. Thank God, because I'm excited to go back and continue to do what I do, and that's defending
Uh,
people.
Well, that's a good thing though. Like if you're
Yeah,
excited to go back to work, that's a good
yeah.
sign because I think what happens to many women when they become pregnant is they, some of them kind of don't enjoy the work as much as they used to before because it could be because like there's something new that they're experiencing that to them is
Hmm.
much more valuable now, and rightfully so. Like when you have a
Yeah.
child, like it's a completely different experience, and so they value this more than the work that they were doing before. Like it becomes more important, and they have to make that decision that they want to spend more time with their children. But I mean, I think it's a good sign if you're excited to go back to work. So that's, like, and you want to go back to your files and to that trial that's waiting for you. That's usually a good sign. I mean, like, I'm happy to know that we're not losing you, at least not yet, to the Crown's office. So
No, 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 never
have
to,
they?
I
Okay, well,
never say never, but
I have another question. Have they reached
yeah.
out to you? Because they also try to, like take advantage, like when they see that your situation have they reached out to you and asked you, hey, Hamna, you're on mat leave. Are you thinking of joining our office or?
So I have a couple of friends at the Crown's office, and they've,
Mhm.
while I was sharing my news that I'm pregnant, they were just
Yeah.
saying, a bunch of them just casually slid in, by the way, our office has so many
Yeah.
vacancies. I know
I'm
the right
not
person.
surprised
And I was
at
like,
all.
hey, I'm not looking for a job. I'm actually very, very
Mhm.
happy. I honestly think I'm too dynamic. Like, the benefit of being a criminal defense lawyer, you're a little bit of a free bird. Like, I
Yeah,
love that freedom. You can be you.
absolutely.
There's no bureaucracy, there's no restraints. There's always restraints within the work we do and the rules we have to operate within, but it's still so freeing. I
Yeah.
love that about, you do whatever it takes for a client. You know, it's just it becomes a lifestyle. That's what it is. So I'm still comfortable with it. I'm still good with it. So thankfully I
Well,
haven't
and
converted.
I think also the most important thing is one thing that you mentioned, though, is that you are in a healthy work environment, and that makes
Right.
all the difference, right? Like knowing that you're supported by your colleagues and
Yeah.
that you like the work environment you're in, that also helps. So, like it gives
Yeah.
you a reason to want to go back to work as well.
Yeah, we actually have a nice office environment. We have like Friday office lunches. We hang out. We talk about work. Like I actually miss those
Yeah.
lunches and talking about like we have a good dynamic. We're almost like friends, but we also work really, really, really hard. But it's like the collegiality. So I do enjoy that, and that I don't know what the situation would be when I go back, but I think it would just be difficult for me to manage things, but the dynamic wouldn't change. I've been with them for like since I got called to the bar, so I'm pretty much just very comfortable.
And would you want your daughter to become a criminal defense lawyer? I know it's too early, but sometimes parents they have plans in advance for their children and they have no options for their children. It's like you have to do this. So is that your approach with your baby?
So I have to figure out what kind of a mother I'm going to be.
Hmm.
I honestly want my daughter to grow up to be a kind human being, and I want her to learn like the values of Islam because I'm Muslim, and a good, kind-hearted, loving person who's self-assured, self-confident, be like her authentic self. I don't think I would want her to succeed in whatever she chooses, but I don't think I would tell her what to do. Maybe I will. Maybe this is what the episodes are going to be about, but I don't want to put those limitations on her because I think the last time we talked about how, I live the immigrant dream because
Yeah.
I'm a lawyer, my sister's a doctor, my brother's an engineer and a veterinarian. So we don't need to like pass on the generational immigration trauma or anything. But I would love it if she did it. I would absolutely love it. But if she chooses to do it, that would be amazing. But if she chooses something else, I think I would just support her. But who knows? It's only been 4 months. I have many, many years ahead
Maybe
of me.
she'll be a future Wicked member as well. So,
Yeah, no,
a
that
Wicked
would be
member
amazing.
in the making. So,
Yeah,
if that's her plan, she should definitely join us soon, and just get used to how it
yeah.
is, like being a, female criminal defense lawyer. And Wicked is the best place for that.
Yeah, no, it really, really is. And throughout my pregnancy, when I was working really hard, and making some tough decisions, Maya, because a lot of opportunities came my way. Like I had a couple of radio appearances and lots of in-person lectures and things like that. I wanted to take it easy and just like, honor what I was going through, but at the same time, those opportunities that I didn't want to let them go. So then I kept telling myself, I'm teaching my daughter what it takes. I'm teaching my daughter to be resilient and I can do it. So I'm hoping, when she grows up and she sees me doing the work that I do, that it's appreciated and it's learned because it is a sacrifice and it's a lot. It's a lot to do everything. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
Well, we will be watching you very closely. And anyways, we're always in touch. You're on the Wicked Executive. So, and as I mentioned, we will have other interviews in the future, and we will be very interested in following the progression of the your life as a mom and how you're balancing that with work. And I really hope that you'll stay on the defense side. That you won't like, even though I'm sure the Crowns will keep on trying to get you to join their office, but we will do our best to keep you on our side of the bar. Thank you so much, Hamna. I know you're very busy and it's not easy to find time to do these things while you're a new mom. So I really appreciate your time. But as I said, I'm continuing. I'm going to have more of these interviews because I do want to follow the progression and see how things are going, and we'll keep in touch. But thank you again for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Maya. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure always to see you.